Hello guys. Today I'm going to talk about a fight that happened in Black Clover in the manga. I don't usually talk about manga scenes like a fight in a series or a moment in a series. I don't really like doing that. Normally I like to just just sit down and talk about the entire series and give you guys my overall thoughts on it. But I'm a huge fan of Black Clover. I love all the characters, and I just wanted to make this video to pretty much explain to the Black Clover fandom that are mad with the conclusion of the recent chapter of Black Clover, and explain why it makes sense that Magna Swing, the member of the Black Bulls, right, managed to beat Dante, and it makes sense. So first of all, let's begin with the whole thing of who Magna for. Actually, no. Let's talk about the training that Magna did, right? Which this will tie into everything to why it makes sense. So, Magna, he trained for 6 months, right? And he trained with Zoras. And before the 6-month time skipped, he didn't really, he wasn't able to do rune magic in the Heart Kingdom. So he went back into the Clover Kingdom and he trained with Zora. Zora has known how to do rune magic for a very long time, right? So for Magna to be able to learn how to do, the soul death, the secret flame magic, soul death match, right? Spell, right? The reason why that makes sense is because who trained him? It was Zora. Right, Zora has known about complex rune magic, right, before anyone in the Clover Kingdom knew about it, right? Why? Because Zora's father, Zara, he also used rune magic to fight up against his opponents. If you go back to the early chapters or the early episodes of Black Clover, you can definitely see Zora's father pretty much using rune magic to fight, right? It was evident in Julius's flashback, and it was evident in Zora's flashback, right? When they both talked about Zora's father, right? So just way back then, Zora already knew how to do rune magic, and of course we got to see his rune magic room, right? And there was a bunch of complex runes. And since Zora has trained to use rune magic for such a long time, he can understand each word and make really complex and really difficult rune magic spells. Right, because Zora, he even says in the flashbacks of training Magna that peasants can use mana. They can use rune magic for a long time. Like since they have a low amount of magic, they can keep it on themselves for a long time. Of course, they need to prepare before using it. Of course. But it stays for a long time, which means that they can make complex runes spells, right? Which goes into this spell that Magna did, because this is a really complex rune spell that Magna did, because he trained with Zora. He learned all the runes, the really complex runes, and of course he trained, and on top of that he also trained how to do boxing, right, which is one of my favorite martial arts, but I'm not going to talk about that. So pretty much Magna, he trained, right? He had to study, he had to learn the complexity of magic, how every single types of runes, and pretty much prepare beforehand. And Magna even said that this was his only time that he can use it, right? He trained for 6 months to only be able to use this spell once, okay? Now if he does use it again in the future, I'll take back my statement, okay? If he does in the future, let's say after 3 or 4 fights in this arc, and then he does it again, then I'll take back my statement. But if he does in the next arc, right after it, then that's passable. That's really acceptable. But now that I've covered the training that Magna did, let's cover the spell itself. The spell is called Secret Flame Magic Soul Death Match. Now let's go on to what this spell does. The spell connects Magna's soul to his opponent, of course, but for him to activate it, he needs to hit his opponent with one of his, fireball magic, right? He has to throw it to his opponent, hit his opponent successfully, and then he'll be able to, use his soul deathmatch spell to pretty much fight against him to equal the playing fields. And for those who don't know, the reason why Magna is able to do this is because of the type of magic that he has, right? He has fire magic, and if you if you research on fire a little bit more, you would know that fire sometimes represents the soul of people, right? And people and there are these phrases being like souls are connected as one, two souls are connected as one when it's like two people, and that's pretty much what Magna did, right? Magna connected his soul to Dante's soul, being able to use the same amount of magic as Dante because they were both connected, right? And the drawbacks of the spell is that you can't yank the chains out or try to break it. If you do, then of course you will go bananas, pretty much. Like we were told this by Magna himself, right? So this is pretty much what explains what the spell does, right? Because if it was someone else who did it, it really wouldn't make sense. But if it's Magna, or let's say for going on Leopold and Marileona, it would make sense why they would be able to use, a soul type magic spell, right? Because they have fire magic, and fire, like I said, is normally sometimes represented as souls, right? So Magna pretty much connected his soul to Dante. So that pretty much clarifies that. But now let's talk about who Magna went up against, okay? Because this is crucial, because Magna was able to do this against Dante, right? Dante. Now, the reason why it makes sense for Dante is because first of all, let's look at the type of magic that he has, right? And then we will go over the personalities of the Dark Triad and why it makes sense why Magna went against Dante, not against anyone else. So, what is Dante's magic? He has gravity magic and body regeneration magic, right? So, even if he gets hit, he will heal, right? So it doesn't matter who hits him, he will get healed. Especially if he has 100% of his power, then this healed ability just heals up really quickly, right? So Dante, of course, he wouldn't really be worried unless it's anti-magic, which that's the only thing that can counter his body magic, right? And of course, Jack's death size ability, but that doesn't work anymore. But anyways, like I said, that's the type of magic that Dante has, right? Now, let's look at the type of magic that Yuno has. He has bone magic and spatial magic. Monica, she has blood magic. Sorry about that. She has blood magic and, of course, curse magic. Now, why is Dante the best choice? Like I said, because of magic. But that's not the only reason. If you pay close attention to the personalities of the Dark Triad, it's clear that Dante would be the best choice, right? Because the thing is, if Magna was to go up against Xenon, he would call he would call Magna a peasant, right? He would call him a peasant, like, get out of it and stuff like that, similar to what, Dante said to Magna. But the difference is that he wouldn't allow himself to get hit, right? Xenon would not allow himself to get hit. No matter who it is, he would protect himself, right? He's not the person who puts his hands in his pocket and he literally just blocks everything with, his bone magic or, his spatial magic, right? He's a very defensive type of person, right? He wouldn't allow himself to get hit, right? Because we don't really know if he has any healing and any, regeneration or healing abilities that we know of. Even with 100% of his power, we've never seen Xenon heal himself, right? Now let's go on to Ivanica. She is a sadistic person. Ivanica is a really sadistic person, and she has blood magic, and of course, she has cursed magic. Now, for her, again, I doubt that she is somewhat the closest one to Dante, but I doubt that she will allow herself to get hit. Because, if she thinks that you're not worth it, then she is gonna put an end to you right there, or she is gonna get one of her underlings to pretty much fight you. So, like I said, like Xenon and Ivanica, them being, Magna being able to, hit them to activate his spell, no chance. But Dante, it makes sense because one, his body magic, right? Because he has so much mana, it makes sense. He would allow himself to get hit because, oh, I got hit. I can just regenerate. But not only that, Dante's really cocky. Okay, Dante is really cocky. He thinks that oh, I got the power of Lucifer. No one can beat me except for the anti-magic kid, right? Apart from him, no one can beat him. No one can beat me. You can keep on hitting me over and over and over and over again. I'll just heal, right? I'll just heal while you will still have the damage. So I'm fine, right? That's pretty much Dante's, mindset, right? That's his mindset, and because he has the power of Lucifer, he acts really cocky, saying no one can pretty much beat me, right? So Dante, of course, he allowed himself to get hit. Right, he allowed himself to get hit because he felt oh, Magna, he has low magic, and because he has low magic, even if he hits me, he won't do anything, right? So that's why the spell worked, because Magna would be able to hit, he managed to hit Dante because Dante let him. Dante let Magna hit Dante, right, to activate his spell. Of course, Dante didn't know, we didn't know either, but still, right? But if it was Ivanica or Xenon, it wouldn't really work, because they would either block the attack and wouldn't allow themselves to get hit, or Ivanica would just, use her underlings or try and finish off Magna right there and there. So, yeah. So that pretty much explains the reason as to why Dante was the perfect opponent for Magna to use that spell. Because if it was anyone else, they wouldn't allow themselves to get hit. Trust me. No one will allow themselves to get hit. Honestly. No one would. Who in their right mind would allow themselves to get hit, right? By a magic, it doesn't even matter if it's by a peasant's magic or something like that. Who would allow themselves to get hit, right? It would hurt, right? It would hurt. It doesn't even matter if the peasant has low magic. It will still hurt a little bit, right? You wouldn't want to get hit, right? So that's why it makes sense for Dante, because he has the ability to generate, right? So he has cocky, and of course he has the ability of Lucifer, pretty much boosting his ego and pretty much boosting his magic, right? Now that I've gone into all that, let's talk about the fight itself, right? Let's talk about the fight itself. I've pretty much gave a small explanation of what Magna's ability is, right? I've pretty much gave a small explanation, which was that Magna's soul deathmatch magic pretty much connects the two souls, connects the two people, Magna and Dante, and pretty much equalizes their magic power. Right, so if one runs out, the other runs out as well, right? And this was shown in the latest chapter, right? And again, let's pay close attention to who Magna is fighting. He's fighting up against Dante, right? Dante is someone that as cocky, and he like Magna said, Dante has never ever experienced losing mana, like draining his mana, because he has so much mana inside of him. It just really wouldn't, like Dante would never have issues with draining his mana, right? Whereas Magna, every time he uses his magic, literally in every fight that we've seen Magna fight, he loses his magic. He drains his magic, right? He keeps on pushing himself over and over and over until he drains his magic, right? So it makes sense why Magna was able to take that opportunity of like, oh, Dante, he has never lost his magic, he has never drained it, right? So I'm going to use that to my advantage and let him burn out, right? And that's pretty much what Magna did. He kept on hitting Dante, right? Forcing Dante to use his bloody regeneration more, forcing Dante to use his gravity magic from Lucifer, right? Pretty much draining all of Dante's magic. Sure, Magna he would be drained as well, but he wouldn't be as affected as Dante did, because the moment he lost his magic, Dante was like, oh wait, what? I can't use my magic? Like, did I lose my connection with Lucifer? What's going on? Like Dante, he was puzzled, right? He didn't know what to do. So Magna took that advantage to pretty much, beat Dante. And that's pretty much what happened, right? Hopefully, hopefully this video is pretty much, going to clarify everything for you guys, okay? Because I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, Magna, I've seen a lot of people saying good things about Magna versus Dante, saying like, this is a huge win, a deserved win for Magna. And of course, I've also heard people also say that Magna, it shouldn't have won against Dante. It doesn't really make sense. The Black Clover haters, right? The haters, the fans that don't really like what happened in these latest chapters, they're pretty much going in and pretty much saying bad stuff without having, the evidence and, everything to back it up, right? Right? Whereas us fans that, are happy to see Magna win, we got the evidence, right? I got the evidence right here. Like, what I'm saying right now is the evidence, right? I'm giving you guys the evidence and pretty much the explanation as to why it makes sense. It makes sense because Magna trained, Zoro was the one who trained him, someone who has a lot of experience with, complex and really difficult rune magic, so it makes sense why he would be able to teach Magna how to do it, right? Secondly, who he was going up against. Dante is someone who's cocky and who would allow himself to get hit because of his high regeneration and his body magic, right? And again, secondly, Dante, he has never experienced magic drain. He never drained his magic completely, so he never experienced it, right? Magna used that to his advantage, which allowed him to win. So, yeah. Hopefully this video pretty much explains everything to you guys. Tell me your thoughts overall, like, what do you think about Magna's win, right? I really want to know what are your thoughts on it, especially after you've seen this video and pretty much explaining, this whole video of me pretty much explaining everything to you guys, and tell me your thoughts about what you guys think about the overall fight, now that I give you guys an explanation about it, right? Especially you Black Clover haters. Yeah. That's pretty much all I got to say, guys. Hopefully you guys have, a wonderful day, and I shall see you all next time.